What's up, guys? This is Chris from draftdashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for MLB Friday, September 2nd. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for today's MLB slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, we have a 13-game slate tonight, so let's take a look at the pitcher position. So stud on the slate that I like is Jordan Montgomery. He's pitching against a low salary batting team, the Chicago Cubs. He's only giving up a .650 OPS versus righties. He's facing 8 righties here tonight. And on top of that, the Cubs have only hit 4 of his last 43 pitches. It's a .093 batting average and a pretty big sample size. So Jordan Montgomery is 9,600 FanDuel salary, 400 less on DraftKings, averaging 28 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored 12, 58, and 44 fantasy points in the last 3 games. So you can see he has some monster upside. And I actually like this pick because he only pitched 5 innings last game. So his arm should be good to go, and he can go the full 9. He scored that 58 fantasy points in 9 innings. So if his arm is rested, this could be interesting if he gets going. So I like Jordan Montgomery here versus the Chicago Cubs. Okay, now if you're looking to save even more salary here, take a bigger risk, take a look at Lance McCullers Jr. He's pitching against a low salary batting team, the Los Angeles Angels. Now, Lance McCullers Jr. does pitch his worst ball versus righty batters, but he's still only giving up a .756 OPS versus righties. He's facing 5 righties, 2 lefties, and 2 switch hitters, and he's good versus lefties and switch hitters. So it's about a 50-50 ball for Lance McCullers Jr. What I like about this pick, though, is the Angels have only hit 15 of his last 85 pitches. That's a .176 batting average and a huge sample size. So Lance McCullers Jr., he's averaging 29 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored 21, 24, and 43 fantasy points in the last 3 games. He has an ERA of 1.69. Record is 1-1, pitching an average of 87 pitches per game. So I like Lance McCullers Jr. here versus the Los Angeles Angels. Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching. If you want to enter the drawing for $25 PayPal, all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won. And then we'll send you $25 PayPal. So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you. Okay, let's take a look at the catcher first base position. A couple of studs that I like. Freddie Freeman, he's gone 7 for 19 here versus Yu Darvish. So this would be a contrarian pick because I'm guessing most people aren't going to pay $4,100 FanDuel salary and $1,800 more for Freddie Freeman here versus a good pitcher in Yu Darvish. But he does have a great batter versus pitcher matchup here. The splits are on his side in terms of the batting side. He bats 15% better versus righty pitchers, batting a .948 OPS versus righties. But I just love this matchup. 7 for 19, that's a .368 batting average and a 1.192 OPS here versus Darvish. And 2 of those 7 hits are for home runs. Now he's averaging 12 fantasy points per game on the season, and he scored fantasy points in all 5 of his last games. He's got a batting average of .324, so I like Freddie Freeman here versus Yu Darvish. Now I mentioned I like Yandy Diaz. He's a little cheaper at $3,700 FanDuel salary, $800 more on DraftKings. He's been on fire, scoring 21, 19, and 9 fantasy points in the last 3 games. He's got a decent matchup here versus Domingo Germán. Yandy Diaz is batting a .737 OPS versus righty pitchers. Domingo Germán pitching his worst ball versus righty batters, 17% worse than his other pitches, giving up a .776 OPS versus righties. And Yandy Diaz is 5 for 14 to .357 batting average and a 1.071 OPS versus Germán. So he's 3,700 FanDuel salary, 800 more on DraftKings, averaging 10 fantasy points per game on the season, and he scored fantasy points in all 5 of his last games. He's been on fire, scoring 21, 19, and 9 fantasy points in the last 3 games. He has a batting average of .289, so I like Yandy Diaz here versus Domingo Germán. Now, a value play that I like here is Joey Meneses. He's got a 36% batting advantage over David Peterson. Joey Meneses is batting 37% better versus lefty pitchers, batting a 1.240 OPS versus lefties. David Peterson giving up a .729 OPS versus righties. Now, there's no at-bats versus Peterson yet. Joey Meneses is 3,000 FanDuel salary, 1,500 more on DraftKings, averaging 12 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored 41 fantasy points last game, 0 the game before that, 28, 9, and 15. So he scored 4 fantasy points in 4 out of his last 5 games. He has a batting average of .354. So I like Joey Meneses here versus David Peterson.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
Okay, let's take a look at the second base position. So I like Ketel Marte. He's got a 40% batting advantage here over Eric Lauer. Ketel Marte batting 28% better versus lefty pitchers, batting a 1.035 OPS versus lefties. Eric Lauer pitching his worst ball versus switch hitters, giving up a .751 OPS versus switch hitters. He pitches 12% worse versus switch hitters than his other pitches. And I like this pick because Ketel Marte is 7 for 14. It's a .500 batting average with a 1.5 OPS versus Lauer, 2 home runs and a double in there. He's 2,900 FanDuel salary, 2,000 more on DraftKings. So I love that FanDuel price under $3K on FanDuel. And Ketel Marte, he's averaging 9 fantasy points per game on the season, but he scored fantasy points in 4 out of his last 5 games. He has a batting average of .251. So I like Ketel Marte here versus Eric Lauer. Okay, let's take a look at the third base position. So I'm going to give you a value play here. I like Willie Castro. He's got a 41% batting advantage over the low salary pitcher Daniel Lynch. Willie Castro batting 12% better versus lefty pitchers, batting a .687 OPS versus lefties. Daniel Lynch, though, he's pitching his worst ball versus switch hitters, 29% worse than his other pitches, giving up a .963 OPS versus switch hitters. Now, Willie Castro is 4 for 6 here versus Lynch. He's got a 1.667 OPS because 2 of those 4 hits were doubles. So I like this pick because Willie Castro only 2,600 FanDuel salary, and he's 600 less on DraftKings. Now, he's only averaging 7 fantasy points per game on the season, but he did score fantasy points in 4 out of his last 5 games, and he has a batting average of .243. So I like Willie Castro as a value play here versus Daniel Lynch. Okay, let's take a look at the shortstop position. So I like Xander Bogaerts, Trevor Story also available at the shortstop position, Willie Castro as well. So here's a value play. Take a look at Ahmed Rosario. He's batting against Luis Castillo. Ahmed Rosario only batting a .671 OPS versus righties, and Luis Castillo only giving up a .651 OPS versus righties, so the splits don't look great. But Ahmed Rosario is 7 for 15 here versus Castillo. That's a .467 batting average, a 1.329 OPS. That's a pretty decent sample size. So I like Ahmed Rosario. He's $2,700 FanDuel salary, $2,600 more on DraftKings. So I love that FanDuel price, averaging 9 fantasy points per game on the season, and he has a batting average of .281. So I like Ahmed Rosario as a value play here versus Luis Castillo. Okay, moving on to the outfield position. So I like Randy Arozarena, but I also like Anthony Santander. He's got a 57% batting advantage here over a low salary pitcher, JP Sears. Anthony Santander batting 9% better versus lefty pitchers, batting a .807 OPS versus lefties. JP Sears, he's pitching his worst ball by far to switch hitters. 49% worse than his other pitches, giving up a 1.071 OPS versus switch hitters. So I love the splits here. Now, Anthony Santander, he's 1 for 4 here versus Sears. He's $3,000 FanDuel salary. He is $2,100 more on DraftKings. He's averaging 10 fantasy points per game on the season, and he scored fantasy points in all 5 of his last games. He has a batting average of .257. So I like Anthony Santander here versus JP Sears.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smiggity smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this MLB slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.